My beloved, as the dawn breaks upon this 29th day of November, let your spirit rise with it. Let your breath become a hymn, and your heartbeat a gentle drum calling heaven closer. For this is not just another morning. No, this is a divine appointment, a holy moment woven with threads of mercy, stitched together by the hands of a God who never slumbers and never forgets his children. Today we stand on sacred ground. Today we lift a prayer that does not wander, that finds its way straight into the chambers of heaven. My beloved, when we speak of this day, this 29th day of November, we are not simply turning a page on a calendar or noting the passing of time. No, we are standing inside a sacred hour, one drenched in quiet purpose, one humming with divine electricity. There are days that glide by soft as silk, and then there are days that rise before us like a mountain glowing in the early sun, calling our name, daring us to climb. November 29th is such a day. It is a divine appointment, a meeting set by the Maker long before you drew your first breath, long before trouble knocked at your door, long before your heart learned the weight of sorrow or the wings of hope. For on this day, heaven leans in a little closer. The air feels different, as though God himself wrapped the morning in his breath and whispered, "Child, pay attention. Something is unfolding for you. You may not see the full shape of it yet. You may not understand why this day carries such gravity, but your spirit knows. It trembles with recognition. It stirs like a bird stretching its wings after a long night, sensing it is time to rise." A divine appointment is not made by coincidence. It is carved out of eternity by hands that hold the stars in place. And on November 29th, God invites you into a holy meeting, a moment orchestrated to shift your life, your home, your mind, and yes, even the tender corners of your spirit that you hide from the world. This day is stitched with meaning. It carries the promise of something fresh, something anointed, something powerful enough to move mountains inside and around you. Perhaps you woke up today feeling weary, the kind of tiredness that no sleep can cure. Perhaps you rose with questions rattling inside your chest, questions about your next step, your next breath, your next hope. Or maybe you opened your eyes with gratitude, with anticipation, with a quiet certainty that today is different. Whatever posture your heart holds this morning, I want you to know God has been waiting for you to arrive at this day. Time to us is a straight line, but to God, time is a circle he holds in his hand. He sees your yesterday, your today, and your tomorrow all at once. And in his mercy, he chooses certain days, specific, precise, divinely orchestrated moments when breakthroughs become ripe, when old burdens become brittle, when hidden blessings begin to show their faces like seeds pushing through warm soil. November 29th is one such day. It is the day heaven calls your name with deliberate intention. There are seasons when it feels as though life is moving you like a leaf caught in a restless wind. You go where the storm pushes, where the pain steers, where the noise directs. But today is not such a season. Today is a pause, a holy hush, a moment when God says, "Stand still. I am doing something." And oh, how powerful a thing it is when God asks us to stand still. For stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of trust. This morning, trust that God has arranged something special in the spiritual realm. Trust that he is aligning blessings, shifting obstacles, softening hearts, breaking barriers, even when your physical eyes see no evidence. Trust that this day is heavy with divine intention because God himself has placed his fingerprint upon it. My dear one, divine appointments often come disguised. They don't always arrive with flashing lights or trumpets blaring. Sometimes they come in the softest ways, a whisper in prayer, a stirring in the heart, a scripture that breathes differently today than it did yesterday. Sometimes they come in the form of a thought you can't shake, a peace that settles upon you without permission, a sudden strength where weakness lived for too long. And sometimes they come in the form of a prayer, like the one you are lifting today that unlocks a door you didn't even know was closed. But whether loud or silent, whether blazing or gentle, divine appointments do not miss their mark. They do not stumble. They do not fail. They arrive on time because they carry the heartbeat of God's perfect timing. and today that timing is leaning toward you. Maybe you've been waiting for something, waiting long, waiting faithfully, waiting with tears tucked into the corners of your eyes. Maybe you've been pacing in the hallway between promise and fulfillment. Or maybe without realizing it, you have been standing on the threshold of your miracle, hesitating to step forward because the past tried to teach you fear. But let me tell you, today you are not alone in that hallway. Today God steps in, takes you by the hand, and gently leads you toward what He has prepared. For this day is not passive. It is alive. It is pregnant with possibility. It is swollen with answered prayers, urgent miracles, and supernatural shifts. The kind of shifts that don't just touch your life, they transform it. This is why you feel the tug on your spirit. This is why your heart leans forward when you pray today. This is why you sense heaven humming over your home. Because this day carries weight, carries promise, carries divine orchestration woven with threads of compassion and strands of destiny. You did not stumble into November 29th. You were brought here, guided here, ushered here by a God who wastes nothing, not your pain, not your patience, not your prayers, whispered through trembling lips in the darkness of your room. You were brought here for alignment. You were brought here for restoration. You were brought here for breakthrough. You were brought here for the kind of divine meeting that changes something inside you, something deep, something lasting, something holy. And my dear heart, when God schedules a meeting with your life, nothing and no one can cancel it. Not the storms that threatened you, not the delays that discouraged you, not the trouble that sat heavy on your chest, not the doubt that tried to steal your sleep. Heaven has called your name, and this day responds in harmony. So lift your head, unburden your shoulders. Let your breath flow steady and your heart open wide. Because today you do not simply walk into prayer, you walk into purpose. You walk into a moment carved out of eternity. You walk into a divine appointment that has waited patiently for your arrival. And oh, my beloved, heaven rejoices that you made it. When we speak of inviting God into the home, we are not merely uttering a pretty phrase or performing a delicate ritual. No, my beloved, we are opening the very soul of our dwelling place to the breath of the Almighty. A home is not just brick and wood, not just tiles and paint. It is a living, breathing vessel that holds our tears, our laughter, our arguments, our apologies, our whispered prayers in the night. When no one knew we were praying, a home remembers us. It steadies us. It cradles us. And sometimes it aches with us. That is why we must invite God to walk through its hallways like a long-awaited guest, like a father returning to his child, like a healer entering a ward filled with quiet wounds. For when God enters a home, He does not knock timidly. He comes with a presence that softens the walls and warms the floors. He comes with a peace that eases the sigh that has lived too long in your chest. He comes with a love that stretches itself across every room like sunlight pouring through a window after too many cloudy days. He comes with authority, not the kind that frightens, but the kind that settles everything that has been restless, wandering, broken, or unanchored. Some people believe a home is changed by new furniture, by fresh paint, by curtains that dance in the wind. But there is something far more powerful than decoration. A home changes when God moves into it, when His presence fills the corners where loneliness once dwelled, when His peace sits on the living room couch, when His mercy rests at the kitchen table, when His joy echoes down the hallway, when His protection stands guard at every door. Oh, my dear friend, how many nights has your home witnessed your trembling? How many mornings has it seen you gather the pieces of yourself before stepping into the world? How many times has it held your secrets like a mother cradling her child's fears? Homes are sacred spaces, and yet they can become battlegrounds. They can become prisons. They can become silent chambers where despair tries to make its bed. That is why we extend the invitation to God, not because He needs permission, but because we need His presence. We need Him to reclaim the space where darkness tried to settle in. We need Him to cleanse what our human hands cannot reach. We need Him to renew what time has worn thin. When you invite God into your home, you are opening the door for transformation. You are saying, Lord, walk through these rooms with me. touch what I cannot reach, heal what I cannot see, restore what I cannot name. And God, with all his tenderness and all his might, enters with purpose. He does not come as a visitor. He comes as a keeper, a restorer, a defender. Imagine him stepping into your living room, his footsteps soundless yet felt in the trembling of your spirit. Imagine him brushing his hand across your walls, whispering peace into their foundation. Imagine him pausing in the doorway of a room heavy with tension, blowing a breath that softens hearts long hardened by misunderstanding. Imagine him standing in your kitchen, blessing the meals that will nourish your body and the conversations that will nourish your soul. Imagine him settling in your bedroom, giving rest to the mind that runs too fast and comfort to the body that carries too much. God does not simply enter a home, he fills it. He fills it until the atmosphere changes, until the very air becomes lighter, until the shadows shrink back in the presence of his light. You may not see him, but you will feel him. You will feel him in the calm that falls over you without explanation. You will feel him in the laughter that returns after too long an absence. You will feel him in the way arguments lose their sting and pain loses its grip. You will feel him in the warmth that blankets the rooms, even on days the sun refuses to shine. For where God dwells, no darkness can remain comfortable. No fear can set its roots. No turmoil can build its nest. His presence is both tender and mighty. It soothes like a lullaby and protects like a warrior. A home with God in it becomes a sanctuary, a refuge, a place where peace does not visit but resides. And do not think for a moment that your home must be perfect to receive him. God does not require spotless floors or flawless people. He steps into messy rooms, into tired corners, into cluttered hearts. He is not deterred by the evidence of your living. He is drawn to the sincerity of your invitation. You do not need to polish your life before welcoming him in. Just open the door, just say, "Lord, come." That is enough to summon heaven's power. In many homes, there are rooms no one talks about. Rooms of silence, rooms of pain, rooms of memories that still sting like fresh wounds. But God, being who he is, steps into those rooms too. He sits with your sorrow. He listens to your regret. He lifts the weight you tried to carry alone. He heals with a gentleness that leaves no bruise, no scar, only restoration. And when he has walked through every room of your home, something begins to shift. You start to notice small changes first. Arguments resolve quicker. Peace lingers longer. Worry doesn't grip as tightly. Sleep becomes deeper. Joy becomes easier. Gratitude becomes natural. You begin to feel safe again, not just physically but emotionally, spiritually, entirely. Homes often carry the energy of their inhabitants. But when God enters, the atmosphere becomes anchored in something higher than circumstance. You can feel it when you walk through the door. You can feel it when you sit quietly in your favorite chair. You can even feel it in the way the morning light spills across your floor. Everything hums with holiness. And blessing, my dear, flows more freely in a home that welcomes God. Favor finds it. Peace rests on it. Angels stand watch over it. The enemy trembles at its threshold. When God is present, the miracles do not struggle to arrive. They find the address with ease. Invite him into your home. Invite him into the spaces where you laugh and the spaces where you cry. Invite him into the rooms where you make decisions and the rooms where you seek rest. Invite him to stand guard over your doors. Invite him to fill your silence with his voice. Invite him to rewrite the story of your home with grace so full it spills into the street. For when God enters a home, everything inside it, every heart, every memory, every sorrow, every hope begins to transform. Not by force, not by pressure, but by presence alone. His presence is enough. His presence is always enough. And once God settles into your home, you will find that you no longer walk alone. You no longer sleep unprotected. You no longer struggle without divine help. He becomes a living companion, a quiet guardian, a steady comforter. Your home becomes more than shelter. It becomes sacred ground. It becomes holy space. It becomes a meeting place between you and heaven. There comes a time in every life, my beloved, when the walls around us begin to whisper stories we wish they would forget. A time when the air in our home feels heavy with old battles, quiet disappointments, unspoken fears. A time when the corners of our living spaces gather shadows that do not belong to us, shadows that linger after arguments, shadows that settle after heartbreak, shadows that sit stubbornly in the silence waiting to be acknowledged. And it is in these moments that we learn the sacred truth. Darkness does not leave a home simply because we want it gone. It leaves when the presence of God makes it uncomfortable to stay. So when we speak of asking God to clear out darkness and every negative force, we are speaking of a cleansing that goes deeper than any broom can sweep, deeper than any rag can wipe. We are calling upon the one whose light penetrates every crevice, whose presence dissolves every chain, whose authority rebukes every shadow with one breath. For darkness, my dear friend, has no loyalty. It seeks any space that feels unguarded. It slips quietly into the home through open wounds, through unhealed memories, through words spoken in anger that hang in the air long after the voice has quieted. But the moment you invite God into the room, darkness begins to tremble. Darkness cannot stand where God dwells. No matter how deep, no matter how long it has lingered, no matter how strong it pretends to be, darkness must bow its head and flee at the sound of his name. When the Almighty steps into your home, he does not ask the darkness to leave politely. He commands it to go. He speaks with a voice that created the world, a voice that climbs mountains and moves oceans, a voice that carries your name and your deliverance in the same breath. And he says to the darkness, "This home is mine." There are many kinds of darkness that try to settle inside a home. Some arrive boldly, storms of anger, tempests of confusion, the loud crashing of heartbreak that shakes the very foundation of the house. But others slip in quietly, soft as a whisper, subtle as a sigh. Silent exhaustion that presses down on your chest. Worry that waits at the foot of your bed when you wake in the night. Anxiety that sits beside you at the table. Old pain that replays itself in your mind like a dusty film. These shadows, these quiet thieves, steal joy drop by drop, moment by moment. They make a home feel colder, heavier, smaller. They turn a place meant for refuge into a place where your spirit tiptoes instead of resting. And yet, even these shadows, the ones that hide in the corners and pretend to be harmless, when God enters, they scatter like dust in sunlight. God does not simply illuminate a room. He transforms the atmosphere. When he comes in, everything that is not of him feels the heat of his holiness. Everything unclean, everything heavy, everything whispered by the enemy begins to crumble. Because the presence of God is like fire. It purifies, it refines, it restores. There are spirits that try to attach themselves to families, spirits of discord, spirits of fear, spirits of lack, spirits of despair. They come to plant seeds of division between husband and wife, between mother and child, between siblings who once played beneath the same sky. They come to create confusion where clarity once lived. They come to choke hope where hope once stood tall. But hear me now, they cannot remain where God has been invited to reign. When you ask God to enter your home, you are declaring a holy eviction notice. You are telling every shadow, every burden, every whispering fear that it no longer has authority in your space. You are reclaiming what God gave you, the right to live in peace, the right to rest in safety, the right to dwell in joy. And God, sweet, powerful, unwavering God, takes that invitation seriously. Imagine him, mighty and gentle, walking through your home with purpose. Imagine his footsteps shaking loose the heaviness from your walls. Imagine his hand sweeping away the residue of past hurts. Imagine him touching the air itself until it vibrates with peace. Imagine him standing in the center of the room, declaring with divine authority, "Let there be light." And suddenly, the darkness that once felt so familiar becomes foreign. The heaviness that lived on your shoulders becomes weightless. The fear that trembled in your chest becomes silent. The confusion that clouded your mind becomes clear as a mountain stream. For where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. freedom from worry, freedom from sorrow, freedom from every voice that contradicts God's promise over your life. And let me tell you something, my dear. Your home deserves that freedom. Your family deserves that freedom. Your spirit deserves that freedom. We are not meant to live in dimly lit spaces, externally or internally. God crafted us for light, for joy, for warmth. He created the home to be a place of rest, a place of renewal, a place where love grows tall and peace settles in like a long-lost friend. But darkness tries to distort that purpose, tries to make the home a battlefield where you feel outnumbered, outmatched, overwhelmed. Yet, no matter how long darkness has lived in your home, one moment of God's presence can undo it all. One prayer whispered with sincerity can shift the entire atmosphere. One cry for help can send angels rushing to your door. One invitation to God can change what years of effort could not. God's cleansing is not gentle in its impact, though it is gentle in its approach. He removes the things that do not belong, not by force but by authority. He clears out the resentment that sat in your kitchen. He lifts the discouragement that slept in your bedroom. He dissolves the tension that lingered in your living room. He breaks the cycles that visited generation after generation, leaving footprints in your family line. He clears out the spiritual dust. He breaks the hidden chains. He uproots the lingering shadows. And in their place he plants peace so deep it becomes part of the foundation. Sometimes God clears out darkness not by removing something, but by adding something. He adds laughter where silence grew heavy. He adds understanding where communication once faltered. He adds forgiveness where wounds ran deep. He adds hope where despair once lay curled in the corner of the home. Light does not fight darkness, it simply shines, and darkness has no choice but to leave. So when you pray for God to clear your home from every force not sent by Him, you are praying for a transformation so profound it touches not just your walls but your heart. Not just the atmosphere, but the lineage that flows through your family. You are praying for holy cleansing. And God, being who He is, answers with a love that purifies, a presence that empowers, and a light that does not flicker. Let Him cleanse your home, beloved. Let Him sweep through it with His power. Let Him restore its peace, its warmth, its purpose. For a home purified by God becomes a sanctuary. A sanctuary becomes a refuge. And a refuge becomes the birthplace of miracles. There comes a moment in every believer's life, my dear one, when the heart grows too weary to pretend, too burdened to carry the weight alone, too stretched to wait in silence for one more sunrise. A moment when the need is not casual but critical, not gentle but urgent. A moment when you do not simply hope for a miracle, you require one, and in this sacred space, in the trembling gap between your need and your faith, rises the bold, trembling prayer for an urgent miracle. When we speak of asking God for an urgent miracle, we are not asking as beggars, no. We are stepping forward as children who know the sound of their Father's heartbeat. We are not approaching heaven with hesitation, we are approaching with holy expectation, because we know the one we are calling upon is able, mighty, merciful, and moved by the cries of His people. An urgent miracle is not a luxury. It is the cry of a soul pressed into a corner, the whisper of a heart that has been holding on by threads. It is the prayer of a spirit who has walked through storms, survived the night, stared down shadows, and still believes that God can turn everything around with one breath. You don't pray for an urgent miracle casually. You pray for it because something in your life needs God now. Because something in your home needs divine intervention today. Because something in your heart needs to be lifted, healed, restored, or broken open before the weight breaks you. Maybe there is a bill waiting on your table staring at you with numbers that do not respect your bank account. Maybe there is a relationship trembling under the weight of misunderstanding and old wounds. Maybe there is a diagnosis that shook your peace and stole your sleep. Maybe your children are wandering in directions that cloud your heart with fear. Maybe there is a heaviness in your home that you cannot put into words, but you feel it each time you step through the door. And perhaps, just perhaps, you have been praying for a long time. You have been patient. You have waited. You have cried in private. You have knelt and whispered, Lord, I trust you. But now the moment has come when your soul steps forward and says, God, I need you to move. Not eventually, not someday, but now. This kind of prayer, beloved, is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of relationship. A sign that you know God's heart well enough to cry to him like a child running into a father's arms. It is knowing that he does not grow tired of your voice. He is moved by it. Moved by your tears. Moved by your faith in the middle of your desperation. There is something powerful, something holy, something deeply courageous about saying to the heavens, Lord, I need an urgent miracle, and I believe you are able. Do you hear the strength in that? The surrender? The trust? The hope that refuses to die even when the night has been long. When you pray this kind of prayer, the prayer of urgent need, the veil between heaven and your home grows thin. Angels lean close. The Spirit hovers. Heaven listens with the tenderness of a mother bending to hear her child's whisper. Because urgent prayers are born from the depths of the soul, and heaven does not ignore depth. Let me tell you something, child. God has a soft spot for desperation wrapped in faith. Faith that says, I cannot fix this, but I know who can. Faith that says, I am not strong enough, but you are. Faith that says, Lord, I am standing at the edge, but I trust your hands to catch me. An urgent miracle is not just about speed. It is about surrender. It is about acknowledging that human effort has reached its limit, and only divine power can take you the rest of the way. And God responds to that. When your prayer rises not from rehearsed words but from trembling honesty, heaven rises to meet it. Heaven does not delay when the heart is sincere. Heaven does not ignore when the soul cries out from the deep. Heaven does not remain silent when a child of God says, Lord, I need you right now. Miracles do not intimidate God. Time does not wear him out. Your tears do not overwhelm him. Your need does not burden him. He is the God who parts waters, who stills storms, who breathes life into dead places. He is the God who multiplies the little you have until it becomes more than enough. He is the God who steps into graves, literal and emotional, and calls forth life. And when you ask him for an urgent miracle, you are calling upon the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. Oh, what confidence you should feel in knowing that. Your home may need a miracle today. Your finances may need a miracle. Your health may need a miracle. Your mind may need a miracle. Your relationships, your children, your future. Something in your life may be crying for rescue, for deliverance, for intervention that cannot wait one more hour. And God in his infinite kindness hears that cry. When you pray for an urgent miracle, you are placing your need into the hands of the one who holds time like clay. He can bend it, stretch it, shift it, redeem it, and accelerate it. What would take a man 10 years, God can do in a moment. What would take the world a lifetime? God can speak into existence in a whisper. This is why we pray boldly. We do not pray small prayers to a big God. We pray big prayers because he is more than capable. When you ask him to move urgently, you are not being unreasonable. You are being honest about the condition of your heart and the urgency of your situation. And God, who is compassionate beyond comprehension, does not rebuke urgency. He responds to it. Sometimes the miracle comes instantly. A shift so quick it steals your breath. Sometimes it comes quietly, like a seed breaking through soil when no one is watching. Sometimes it comes through people, through doctors, through phone calls, through unexpected open doors. Sometimes it comes through peace so deep it is itself a miracle. But hear this well. When you ask God for an urgent miracle, something in the heavens starts moving. Something begins shifting. Something begins aligning. Something begins breaking. Something begins healing. Something begins opening. God does not ignore urgent prayers. He meets them with urgent mercy, urgent grace, urgent intervention, urgent compassion. Your cry is not too loud for him. Your need is not too great for him. Your situation is not too complicated for him. Your timing is not too late for him. So cry out boldly today. Cry out with faith. Cry out with expectation. Cry out knowing that the God who split the sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who walked on water, who healed with a touch, is the same God who listens to you. And He is not far. He is not delayed. He is not distracted. He is not ignoring your need. He is near, closer than your breath, closer than your fear, closer than your doubt. Ask Him for the urgent miracle. Ask with trembling voice or steady one. Ask with tears or with strength. Ask with desperation wrapped in hope. Because when you ask, heaven moves. Angels step forward. Blessings rearrange themselves. And the miracle begins its journey to your door. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not praying into an empty sky. You are praying to the God who already knew your need and has already prepared your answer. He is simply waiting for your voice to call it forth. There comes a tender hour in every soul's journey when the heart must admit its emptiness, its longing, its thirst for something greater than itself. And in that sacred hour, my dear one, we learn that healing, unity, and abundance are not things we merely stumble upon. They are gifts that must be invited, nurtured, and received with hands unclenched and spirits made ready. When you call upon God to heal your home, you are doing more than whispering a prayer. You are declaring that the chaos has run its course. You are announcing that the sorrow has had its say, and now joy must rise and take its rightful place. You are proclaiming that division has no more authority where love has been enthroned. You are opening your doors to a divine physician whose remedies are peace, whose prescriptions are love, and whose healing power is older than time itself. For healing does not begin in the bones, it begins in the breath. It begins in the sigh that escapes your chest when you finally speak the truth you've been swallowing for years. Healing begins when the heart unclenches, when pride loosens its grip, when silence breaks and tears fall. Healing is not weakness. It is the courage to admit you cannot carry this alone. It is the surrender that opens the heavens and allows God to pour Himself into the cracks of your life. My beloved, your home deserves that kind of healing, the kind that visits the places you don't talk about, the kind that sweeps out yesterday's dust, the kind that invites tomorrow in with gentle hands. Some homes do not fall apart in a single day. They wear down over years of unspoken words, sharp glances, and hope stretched too thin. A house becomes divided not because love disappears, but because fear grows louder. But hear me now, unity is not the absence of differences. Unity is the decision to hold on to God stronger than you hold on to conflict. Unity is choosing forgiveness, even when your heart trembles at the thought of it. Unity is remembering that every person under your roof breathes air lent by God, carries purpose planted by God, and is a reflection of God Himself. So when you ask God for unity, you are not asking Him to make everyone think the same, feel the same, or walk the same path. You are asking Him to weave a thread of grace through the hearts of all who dwell in your home. You are asking Him to soften the places that have hardened and to ease the words that have been spoken too harshly. You are asking Him to be the bridge when understanding falls short. My dear, unity is a divine miracle, but it is also a daily practice. And when God steps into the center of your home, unity becomes not just possible, but inevitable. And then there is abundance. Not the shallow abundance the world whispers about, the abundance measured in coins, counted in possessions, flaunted in displays of excess. No, the abundance God brings is deeper, richer, quieter. It is the abundance of knowing you are held, the abundance of having enough peace to sleep at night and enough strength to wake in the morning, the abundance of opportunities that find their way to your door, the abundance of wisdom that saves you from mistakes your eyes cannot yet foresee, the abundance of laughter that returns to your home after a long season of silence. God's abundance does not glitter, it glows. It does not shout, it sings. And when it enters a home, it transforms every room it touches. Scarcity flees. Fear shrinks. Worry loosens its fingers. You find that the bills still come, but so does the provision. The storms still rise, but so does your strength. And right in the middle of it all, you discover that abundance is not about what you store in your hands. It is about what God stores in your spirit. When you ask God to bring abundance to your home, you are not petitioning the heavens with empty hope. You are aligning yourself with the promise that has been yours since the foundation of the world, that God will supply all your needs according to His riches and glory, not according to your job, not according to your bank account, not according to your connections, but according to His unending, unfailing, immeasurable richness. Oh, what a mighty God that is! You must believe, dear heart, that your home is worthy of this. Your home is worthy of healing that mends what was broken. Your home is worthy of unity that holds what was falling apart. Your home is worthy of abundance that replenishes what was lost. And if your home has seen years of struggle, doors slammed in anger, nights drenched in tears, hearts drifting farther apart than feet ever could, know that God specializes in restorations. He rebuilds what others call ruined. He revives what the world calls dead. He brings beauty out of ashes and harmony out of discord. Perhaps you have walked through a season where the air in your home felt thick with tension, where every word landed like a stone, where every morning carried yesterday's weight. Perhaps laughter felt foreign. Perhaps peace felt borrowed. Perhaps you have prayed for change but saw no evidence of it. And yet here you are, calling on God once again. That alone is faith. That alone is proof that the story is not over. Healing begins with the first crack of surrender. Unity begins with the first whisper of forgiveness. Abundance begins with the first spark of hope. And all three bloom when God is invited to take His seat at the table of your home. So open your doors wide. Not just the physical doors, but the doors of your heart, your mind, your expectation. Let God breathe into your home the way He breathed into Adam, bringing life where there was none. Let Him rearrange what has grown stale. Let Him remove what no longer serves your journey. Let Him reposition you so that every blessing with your name on it can find its way to you without delay. Oh dear one, God longs to fill your home until healing runs like water across the floors, until unity ties hearts together with unbreakable threads, until abundance overflows from room to room and spills out onto the lives of all you touch. He wants your home to be a lighthouse on a dark hill, a refuge for weary souls, a sanctuary where His name is honored and His presence is felt even in the quiet moments. And when you ask Him, truly ask Him for these gifts, heaven does not stay silent. Healing rises like dawn. Unity settles like dew. Abundance pours like rain. Something shifts. Something moves. Something awakens. So stand tall. Lift your chin, open your hands, and declare with a trembling but determined voice, Lord, bring healing to my home, bring unity to my family, bring abundance to every place where lack once lived. Make this house a testament to your mercy, your goodness, and your unfailing love. And watch, just watch, how God answers. For the home that invites Him is the home that cannot remain the same. There is a sacred wonder in knowing that you are watched over by a presence far greater than the walls that surround you, far stronger than the locks on your door, far more faithful than any earthly protector could ever be. When you call upon God for divine protection over your household, you are stepping into an ancient truth, older than your grandparents' prayers, older than the mountains, older than the first breath that ever graced this earth. You are placing your home in the custody of a God who neither sleeps nor slumbers, a God whose eyes roam the whole world to find those who trust in Him, a God whose love builds fortresses no enemy can breach. When you ask God to send His angels to guard your home, you are not imagining some distant fairy tale. You are invoking a promise written in heaven's ink, a promise that has stood firm through centuries of storms and shadows. God's angels are not fragile beings of soft light. They are warriors forged in glory. They walk with authority. They stand with unshakable presence. They are guardians assigned to carry out divine command, messengers who move at the speed of God's will. And oh, how they surround a home that has been surrendered to the Almighty. Imagine for a moment the unseen. Imagine the quiet night, the stillness of your house, the moonlight settling across your windows. You cannot see it, but heaven sees. You do not hear it, but heaven hears. There is movement in the spiritual realm, silent footsteps of protection, robes brushing through the unseen corridors, swords of light drawn against anything that dares approach. When you declare divine protection over your home, you awaken the invisible army that God has already placed around you. You welcome the shield that has been ready since before you ask. There are dangers in this world that flesh cannot confront, battles that human strength cannot win, forces that move in shadows unseen. But you, dear soul, are not left to face them alone. When God covers your home, the forces of darkness tremble. When His angels stand at your doors and windows, fear must pack its bags and leave. Anxiety cannot linger, harm cannot cross the threshold. Confusion must bow, chaos must retreat. Because where God's protection resides, nothing unholy can dwell. There are nights when the wind howls like a wounded creature, when the burdens of the world creep to your doorstep and try to whisper hopelessness into your bones. On nights like those, when uncertainty looms and troubles try to find a crack through which to seep, divine protection becomes more than comfort. It becomes necessity. It becomes life-sustaining. It becomes the blanket your spirit wraps itself in when the world grows too loud, too heavy, too cruel. God's protection is not a weak wall, it is a towering fortress. It is not a thin veil, it is a mighty shield. And yet, protection is not only for the night. It is for the daylight hours when distractions roam freely. It is for the morning when your children leave the house with innocence in their eyes and dreams in their pockets. It is for you when you step out into a world that wears both beauty and danger in equal measure. Divine protection covers your comings and your goings. It covers your footsteps before you take them. It covers the conversations you haven't yet had, the roads you haven't yet traveled, the challenges you haven't yet faced. Call upon the protection of God, and you are calling upon a choir of heavenly guardians who do not tire, who do not grow weary, who do not fail. They cover your home from every side, front, back, roof, foundation, every angle known to human sight, and those known only to the Spirit. They watch when you are awake, and they watch when you sleep. They stand by your bed when nightmares try to rise. They stand in your living room when the weight of sorrow tries to settle. They stand in your kitchen where meals are prepared and prayers whispered under breath. Oh, beloved, divine protection is not passive. It is active, alive, alert. God protects with intent. He guards with passion. He shields with love so fierce it could set the skies ablaze. When God protects your home, arguments lose their fire. Illness loses its grip. Brokenness loses its voice. Doors that were once open to harm become sealed by the hand of God. Windows that once invited worry now reflect peace. The very air shifts. The atmosphere changes. You begin to walk lighter, not because the world has changed, but because you now walk under heaven's covering. Some homes have seen too many battles. Some homes have heard too many shouts, witnessed too many tears, absorbed too many disappointments. But hear this truth with your whole heart. The home that God protects will not stay wounded. The home God shields will not stay fragile. God's protection does not just guard, it restores, it heals, it strengthens, it rebuilds. When you pray for divine protection, you are asking God to sweep through your home with holy authority. You are inviting Him to evict every spirit of fear, every whisper of doubt, every shadow of discord. You are asking Him to sweep out the remnants of yesterday's hardships and replace them with the warmth of His presence. His protection is not cold or distant, it is intimate. It wraps itself around you like a mother gathering her children close. And in your home, where laughter has once faded, His protection brings comfort that lingers. Where doors have slammed in anger, His protection brings peace that settles like dew. Where silence has weighed heavy, His protection breathes renewed hope into the very walls. But divine protection does not ask you to live recklessly. It invites you to live intentionally, aware that every step you take is guided by a God who knows the path, even when you do not. It invites you to live knowing that your life is not left to chance, not tossed about by randomness, not vulnerable to every force that roams the earth. You are covered, you are sheltered, you are held. There will be days when threats come not in the form of robbers or storms, but in the form of worry, doubt, or despair. And on such days, divine protection is the reminder that the God who guards you is greater than the fears that haunt you, greater than the mistakes that try to shame you, greater than the failures that try to label you. Divine protection whispers, you are not alone, you are not uncovered, you are not forgotten. And so, dear one, speak it with courage, declare it with authority. Say it with the conviction of someone who knows who their protector is. Lord, place your angels at the corners of my home. Let no harm enter, let no darkness linger, let no weapon prosper. Surround my dwelling place with your light. Guard every room, every heart, every soul within these walls. Say it in the morning as you rise. Say it at noon when the day wears thin. Say it at night when the world falls silent. Speak it until your home becomes a sanctuary of peace, a fortress of hope, a refuge of love. For a home protected by God is not merely safe, it is sacred. It is not merely guarded, it is blessed. It is not merely shielded, it is transformed. And once God's protection settles over your home, nothing, not trouble, not turmoil, not the schemes of man or the whispers of darkness, can ever take that covering from you. You are protected. You are watched over. You are held in hands that do not fail. And your home, wrapped in the arms of God, becomes a place where miracles feel welcome and peace feels at home. There is a sacred authority that rises within you when you dare to speak blessings over your own life. It is not arrogance. It is not presumption. It is the quiet courage of a soul that has come to understand that words are seeds and the tongue is the garden in which tomorrow blooms. When you stand in your home, whether it is filled with laughter or weighed down with worry, and you begin to declare God's goodness, God's protection, God's mercy, something begins to shift. Something invisible, powerful, and holy stirs in the atmosphere. You become both the vessel and the voice through which heaven writes new possibilities on the walls of your existence. There is strength in speaking faith when circumstances look bleak. There is power in declaring blessing when all you feel is burden. There is victory in lifting your head and saying something good will come from this day, even when the echoes of yesterday's pain still linger in the air. Oh, my dear heart, that is what it means to walk in spiritual maturity, to declare truth louder than fear, to speak life louder than doubt, to call forth blessings even when your hands are trembling. When you begin your morning by declaring God's promises, you are not just reciting words. You are commanding your day to come into alignment with heaven. You are telling the winds of worry to calm themselves. You are telling the shadows of doubt that they will not follow you. You are telling the miracles appointed to you that they have permission to enter your life without delay. You are opening the door of your spirit and saying, "Come in, Lord. Come in favor. Come in peace. Come in abundance. Come in strength." For God has given you the authority to speak things that are not as though they already are. And the world may scoff, and the enemy may sneer, but the heavens listen. Every time you declare, "My home is covered, my family is protected, my miracle is on the way," heaven responds with movement. Angels take their places. Blessings begin their descent. Doors that were stuck begin to loosen. Chains that held you begin to rust and crack, because the spoken word is a key, and when placed in God's hand it unlocks what no man can shut. There are people who speak curses over their own lives without even realizing it. Words of defeat, words of fear, words of limitation. "Nothing ever works out for me. I'll never get ahead. My home will always struggle." But hear me now, words are builders or destroyers. They are architects of strongholds or architects of freedom. And when you rise and declare blessings over your day, you are choosing to build. You are choosing to construct your future with beams of hope and foundations of faith. Declaring blessings is not ignoring reality. It is choosing a higher reality. It is saying, I see the storm, but I also see the one who commands the storm to cease. It is saying, I feel the weight, but I also feel the strength of the God who lifts burdens. It is saying, I am surrounded by uncertainty, but I am also surrounded by angels. Every declaration you speak becomes a brick in the house of your destiny. Every affirmation becomes a window through which light pours. Every blessing you speak becomes an invitation for God to do what He already desires to do: lift you, guide you, restore you, and protect you. Declare blessings over your home. Speak to the walls that have absorbed years of sorrow, and tell them a new season has come. Speak to the floors that carried your weary footsteps, and tell them that joy will be dancing here soon. Speak to the rooms that have seen conflict, and tell them that peace will sit like a gentle elder at the table. Speak to the air, and fill it with gratitude, with expectation, with reverence. Your home is not just wood and cement. It holds energy. It remembers. And when you speak divine truth within it, the very atmosphere shifts. Silence becomes softer. Darkness becomes discouraged. Hope becomes at home. And don't forget, declare blessings over your own soul. Tell yourself, I am stronger than yesterday's pain. Tell yourself, I am worthy of God's love. Tell yourself, I am walking into a new season, and nothing can stop what God has prepared for me. Because you are not just the keeper of your home, you are the keeper of your spirit, and your spirit needs to hear your own voice lifting it up. There is a reason God invites us to speak His word, to declare His promises out loud. He knows the human heart needs reminders. He knows the human mind needs realigning. He knows that fear speaks loudly, doubt speaks quickly, and darkness speaks persistently. So He gives you the antidote: speak His truth louder. Say, this home is covered by the blood of the Lamb. Say, every plan of the enemy is cancelled. Say, breakthrough is coming to my household. Say, my children are protected, my finances are blessed, my body is strengthened. Say, this is the day the Lord has made, and I will walk through it with confidence. There is no arrogance in declaring blessings. There is only obedience. For God Himself said, decree a thing and it shall be established. God Himself said, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. God Himself said, life and death are in the power of the tongue. Your declarations create ripples in the unseen. They move through the spiritual realm like waves. They touch things you cannot see, shift things you cannot name, and open doors you cannot yet imagine. Some blessings require the boldness of your voice before they manifest in your life. Some miracles wait for you to say, I believe. Some breakthroughs wait for you to declare, it is done. So speak it, dear one, even when your voice shakes. Speak it when the morning light feels dim. Speak it when the weight of life presses on your chest. Speak it when you feel strong, and speak it when you feel broken. Because your words spoken in faith become heavenly instruments. They become arrows of light. They become songs of deliverance. They become anchors that hold you steady in a storm. Declare blessings not just for the sake of the day, but for the sake of your future. Declare blessings over the doors you have not yet walked through. Declare blessings over the opportunities that are making their way to you. Declare blessings over the healing you have prayed for. Declare blessings over the relationships that God is restoring. Declare blessings over your mind, your emotions, your sleep, your finances, your calling. And as you declare, watch how the heavens respond. Watch how peace settles on your shoulders. Watch how clarity rises in your mind. Watch how burdens loosen. Watch how a quiet confidence fills your spirit like warm sunlight on a cold morning. For the one who declares blessings is the one who walks into blessings. The one who speaks victory is the one who receives it. The one who declares protection is the one who feels it wrap around them like a shawl made of light. So today, this very moment, tell your day how it will unfold. Tell your home who it belongs to. Tell your family who watches over them. Tell your future you are coming with faith in your pocket and courage in your stride. Speak it, declare it, claim it. And may every word you speak rise like incense before God, move the heavens on your behalf, and return to you as miracles too beautiful to contain. For when you declare blessings, you are not just shaping your day, you are shaping your destiny. There comes a moment quiet, holy, and unmistakable when your soul must decide whether to clutch yesterday or release it to the winds of God's mercy. This moment arrives for each of us, sometimes softly like a whisper carried on dawn's first light, and sometimes sharply like a door slamming shut behind us. But it arrives, and in that moment the invitation is clear. Let go of the burdens that do not belong to you and step into the new beginning that God is placing before your feet. Releasing struggle is not the denial of reality. It is the acceptance of divine assistance. It is a humble admission that the weight you've been carrying was never meant to rest solely upon your shoulders. Oh dear heart, you have wrestled with things too heavy for too long. You have stood in battles that drained you, prayed prayers that felt unanswered, fought storms with trembling arms. And yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still hoping. That is not weakness. That is resilience. That is courage painted across the canvas of your life. But even the strongest soul must learn the sacred art of surrender. For God never asked you to be the architect of your own strength. He asked you to trust the one who holds galaxies in his palm, the pain you've been gripping. Yes, that old ache in the corner of your heart, that disappointment you tuck beneath your smile, that memory that rings like an unwelcome echo, those are the things that weigh you down when God is trying to lift you up. Those are the knots in the rope when God is trying to pull you into a wider space. Release them. Not because they never mattered, but because God has something for you that requires empty hands. You see, every ending in God is a doorway, not a wall. Every closed chapter is an invitation to a new sentence written in grace. But if your arms are full of yesterday, how can you embrace tomorrow? If your heart is cluttered with grief and guilt, how can joy find a place to sit? God is not asking you to erase your past. He is asking you to loosen your grip on the parts that keep you from rising. Letting go begins in the quiet corners of the spirit. It begins when you whisper, "Lord, I cannot hold this anymore." It begins with the courage to unclench your fists. It begins when you choose rest instead of resistance, peace instead of panic, trust instead of toil. Some struggles are inherited, passed down like a bruised family heirloom from generation to generation. Some battles you never chose, yet you find yourself entangled in them, praying they will loosen their hold. And though the wounds were real and the lessons were painful, there comes a moment when you must choose to release what has tried to follow you, release generational fear, release inherited shame, release cycles of struggle that have wrapped themselves around your identity. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering without being held hostage. Perhaps your burden is the fear of not being enough. Perhaps it is the fear of failing, or the fear of being alone, or the fear that good things won't last. But hear me, dear one, fear is a cruel storyteller. It takes one dark chapter and convinces you it is your entire book. But God is the author, and God is not finished writing. Your new beginning requires your permission. It requires your participation. God will open the door, but you must walk through it. God will shine the light, but you must step out of the shadows. God will release blessings, but you must release the burdens. Letting go means releasing people too. Not with bitterness or anger, but with gratitude and grace. Some were meant only for a season. Some taught you lessons wrapped in heartbreak. Some shaped you with their presence and refined you with their leaving. You honor them not by holding tightly, but by allowing the chapter to end where it was meant to. Every person you release makes room for someone God has ordained to walk the next part of the journey beside you. And then there are the struggles we cling to out of habit. The worrying, the overthinking, the fear of what tomorrow might bring. But God is calling you to release even these, to lay them gently at His feet and step back. The God who keeps the oceans in place is capable of holding your concerns. The God who paints sunsets each evening can surely paint beauty into the areas of your life that look dim. The God who parts seas can part the obstacles before you. Release the struggle and let Him do what only He can do. And what of the guilt you carry? The shame? the regrets that sit heavy on your heart like stones in your pocket. God does not want you living weighed down by mistakes long forgiven in heaven. Your new beginning demands that you see yourself as God sees you, redeemed, restored, renewed. The enemy will remind you of what you did. God will remind you of who you are. Choose to believe the one who created you. Walk into your new beginning with the knowledge that God has already prepared the way. Do not let fear make you linger at the threshold. There are blessings waiting on the other side. There are opportunities that have your name etched upon them. There is healing rising like a sun beyond the clouds of yesterday's sorrow. There is provision in places where you once only found lack. There is clarity where confusion once reigned. But you must step forward. Do not be afraid to start again. Do not fear the blank page that morning brings. For God is the kind of author who writes beauty into broken lines. He is the kind of potter who shapes shattered clay into vessels of honor. He is the kind of father who delights in seeing his children walk boldly into their rightful place. Walking into your new beginning means walking with hope. Not blind hope, but hope rooted in the knowledge that God is faithful. Hope rooted in the truth that what lies ahead is greater than what lies behind. Hope rooted in the certainty that your steps are ordered, your path is guarded, and your future is held in capable hands. Let the past be the past. Let the sorrow be a teacher, not a captor. Let the mistakes be markers of growth, not anchors of shame. Let God lead you. For the dawn does not wait for permission to rise, and neither should you. Step forward with courage. Step forward with peace. Step forward with expectation. Speak to your soul and say, "This is my new beginning, and I will enter it fully." And as you do, oh dear heart, watch how heaven moves. Watch how doors open, how burdens lift, how joy returns like an old friend coming up the driveway. Watch how God takes what you surrendered and replaces it with something lighter, brighter, and far more beautiful. Because when you finally release what weighs you down, God can finally give you what lifts you up. And your new beginning, shaped by His hands, will be the kind of chapter that makes your whole story, every struggle and every triumph, worth telling.